Welcome to Catholic Faith Forum. Today we are talking about prostate cancer. Prostate cancer is one of the strictly male diseases and is responsible for over 30% of most of the cancer deaths in men. Yep, very high numbers. And this is exactly why we should have more discussions on this issue. And we're going to do just that on this week's episode of Catholic Faith Forum. When we come back from this short break, we'll be meeting our guest, who is a doctor, and will be giving us more information on this deadly disease. Stay with us. Welcome back to the show. My name is Chima, and on today's episode of Catholic Faith Forum, we'll be discussing prostate cancer. And I have with me in the studio to do justice to this topic, Dr. George Uchendu, a medical doctor and a health educator. You're welcome, Doc.
It's great to be here with you.
Very
Catholic
great
Faith
to
Forum.
have you here. Thank you so much for doing this. Okay, so prostate cancer, big deal. And it's something that happens quite a lot in this part of the world, but a lot of Nigerians do not know it. Let's start with why that is, first of all.
Okay, to know why that is, it will probably be important for us to know what it is all about, first and foremost. A lot of people do not know where the prostate is. The prostate is an almond-shaped gland that is found around the penis, in between the bladder and the urethra. So it's almond shaped, and the best way I like to explain it is, imagine you have a pipe through which water is going through, and you have something outside just compressing around the pipe. So it's similar like that. That's what we call the prostate. And what does it do? It is responsible for producing semen. Semen is the fluid that carries sperm from the urethra through to the penis. We also have the prostate providing nourishment and nutrition to the semen, making sure that it remains in the healthy state that it is. So it's a very important gland in the body, especially when you talk about fertility. It's very, very important. So why do we have it prevalent? Just like a lot of other disease conditions, will be the fact that our lifestyle is a big issue in this part of the world. The things we take in, the things we eat, the things we drink. There's also the part of age. There's also the part of race. So from research, it has been shown that blacks are more likely to have prostate cancer as against whites.
Why is that? Is our prostate different from that of whites or that of the brown people? Why are blacks more susceptible to it?
Yeah, it has a lot to do with genetics, and some of these things we can't explain. But it has a lot to do with genetics. The genetic makeup of a black man leaves him susceptible to getting a lot of these conditions. It's not just prostate cancer. A lot of these other conditions, ovarian cancer and the likes, are more common in the blacks. And it just has to do with genetics compared to the whites. Also, the fact that there is a better health-seeking behavior with the white people. So they just feel a slight pain on their middle finger and they are going to the hospital. But for us here, I like to say we practice what we call, God forbid, medicine. We practice what we call anointing oil medicine. We practice what we call holy water medicine. So the thing would have gotten far, and then we now realize, okay, we need to go to the hospital. So these are some of the things that also play a role in it being very prevalent in this part of the world.
All right, so let's talk about the cancer now. Cancers usually present as tumors and all of that. So for the prostate, is it the same thing?
Okay, so the beauty about cancers generally, and
you said beauty, doc.
It's not in the beautiful way,
okay.
But the strange thing about cancers.
Medical people are always fascinated by these things when you see it. So
the strange thing about cancers, and cancers is one of the things that medical people do not like. We don't like it because because of our level of study, a lot of things we have control over, we know. But with cancers, we seem not to have gotten a hold of it. We don't know a lot about how to stop it. And it's very painful when you see someone that has any type of cancer going away from you and you can't help. So the thing about cancers is that when they start, they don't just come out as tumors. It takes years of various processes going on. So a lot of times you would not even see anything. There will be nothing. It might just be test and screening that might pick it out. It will take years before tumors begin to come up. And by the time that starts to happen, it has gone far. it's a place of no return. You cannot now begin to save. There's little or nothing you can do to save the person. So a lot of times with prostate, for example, the prostate is fueled by testosterone. Testosterone is that hormone that makes you a man, that makes me a man. So I like to say that for women, for example, fibroids is fueled by estrogen. Estrogen is what makes a woman a woman. So as long as a woman is a woman, she will most likely have fibroids. Now, the level to it is another issue. Same thing with men. As long as a man is a man, his prostate will enlarge. Now, follow me. The prostate enlargement doesn't automatically become prostate cancer.
Okay.
The first step to a possible prostate cancer is that the prostate will enlarge. And that's because of testosterone. So testosterone will keep on fueling the prostate, and gradually the prostate will increase in size. Now, it is with testing and screening that we'll now find out if that swelling or that enlargement would lead to cancer. For some people, it would just be enlargement, what we call benign prostate hyperplasia, BPH. BPH, for some people, might just remain BPH. So the prostate will just enlarge, and then you might just need to treat it. But for some people, BPH, benign prostate hyperplasia, will now progress to prostate cancer. So some of the symptoms that people might begin to see, that they might present with, and it might give us an idea that we need to check this person to be sure that it is not just a BPH, it might be prostate cancer, would be things like, as I said, first and foremost, they might not notice anything. They might just come into the hospital for a random check, and then we might say, oh, this person is above 40, and then we'll just do a test and then we pick it. But then, for some people, they might begin to have what we call urinary symptoms. So, because of the way I described the prostate earlier, the prostate is around the pipe being the urethra, where urine comes out from, where sperm comes out from. That prostate is just around it. When it begins to enlarge, it begins to compress on the pipe, which is the urethra. So, for a lot of people, they might first notice that they are finding it difficult to urinate. Normally, when you go to urinate, there is that projection. And children like to play with it.
But it doesn't happen with prostate cancer.
With people who begin to have prostate enlargement.
Oh, okay. Enlargement first.
Enlargement, because it is that enlargement that will cause the symptoms that we'll now test for, that will now tell us that, oh, there's a possible prostate cancer.
All right, Doc, hold that thought. We'll be going on a short break now. When we come back, we'll be looking more into the symptoms of prostate cancer and how it presents in men. Stay with us. Welcome back to the show. My name is Chima, and you're still live on Catholic Faith Forum. We've been with Dr. George Uchendu, and he has been telling us about prostate cancer. So far, we now know what prostate cancer is. Now we're going to look into the symptoms and the possible diagnosis of the cancer. So, Doc, you were telling us about some of the symptoms earlier before we went on the short break.
Yeah, so I started with difficulty in urinating. So, normally, when you urinate, there is the projection. And then you do not have to, sometimes you might not have to be so close to the
water closet or wherever.
Wherever to pee. But then for those who have some level of prostate enlargement, or let's even say progressing to prostate cancer, they find it difficult to pee. So they have to go close so that they don't pee on, maybe, for example, if they're in a restroom, they don't pee on the floor. Right. And then there's also, because of that difficulty in urinating, they don't completely void. They don't completely urinate. So they pee a little and it feels like they are done, and they go, and then they feel that what we call frequency. So they visit the restroom a lot to pee because they have not completely emptied their bowels. There's also the fact that they can also, for some of them, they can be what we call urinary incontinence. So because they've not fully emptied their bowels, a lot of times they might, some of them might pee on themselves. There's also what we call urgency. The fact that for you, if you are pressed, you can hold it if you're not in a place that is comfortable. For people like that, they cannot hold it. If they don't pee now, they will pee on themselves. So there's also the part of blood in the urine. Some of them go to pee. The moment you see blood in urine, is not a good sign. It's not a good sign at all. It can be any other thing that might have caused it, but it's not a good sign. It's not a good sign. Definitely not a good sign. For some people, they might also see blood in their semen. That is also not a good sign. Seeing blood at all is not a good sign at all. For some people, they might also have symptoms of what we call erectile dysfunction. So they might find it difficult to conceive or to impregnate their wife, and then you might find out that they are not lasting as long as they should last when they are trying to impregnate their wife. So these are some of the issues that can be noticed uh, in prostate cancer. If it progresses, I talked about prostate enlargement initially, and because in this part of the world we don't go to the hospital when we notice some of these things, and a lot of times we go when it has progressed. For some people, they might start feeling back pain, pelvic pain, waist pain, or might have difficulty in breathing and the
Nigerians
likes.
will say it's jedi.
I mean, and that's just the sign that it has spread. The cancer has become prostate cancer, and it has begun to spread to other parts of the body. So
Yeah, so
those
I
are some of the
just
things
jokingly mentioned jedi, but there are a lot of sicknesses, that have similar symptoms.
Yes.
So does prostate cancer have, similar symptoms with anything, so that people don't, get scared unnecessarily?
Yes, definitely. As I said earlier, a lot of the symptoms doesn't necessarily mean that it is prostate cancer. I remember I mentioned what we call benign prostate hyperplasia. That is just enlargement of the prostate with years. Over the years, the prostate will gradually enlarge. In any man, the prostate would definitely enlarge. Now, will it enlarge to the point where it will cause some of these symptoms? For some people, no. For a lot of other people, yes. Especially as they age. So that can be one of the possible conditions that might cause some of these symptoms. There's also something we call prostatitis. Prostatitis is just basically the inflammation or infection of the prostate. So if the prostate is infected, definitely some of these symptoms might definitely come up. So the only way we can find out if it is either of these or even prostate cancer is by testing. And by testing, we are talking about what we call the prostate-specific antigen test. You take the PSA, you take the sperm, and then you test it for what we call prostate-specific antigen. Now that is something in the prostate, produced by the prostate, that shows us if the prostate is healthy or not. There's a normal value between 1 to 5, normal value. But once it begins to get, for some people, you test and you're seeing a PSA value of 100, 200, then that is a big problem. That is something that will tell us that
from 5 to 100. Wow.
You can imagine. So that can give us an idea that, this person the prostate might be moving on to the level of prostate cancer. And while we encourage everyone to get their PSA test done, it's also the prostate screening. That is is regularly done, and for most times, most people that do it is free in a lot of facilities. So you get your screening test done, they check your PSA levels, and then that can help us know if you are dealing with prostate cancer or just a prostate enlargement or just prostatitis.
Okay, so what kinds of men are most at risk of prostate cancer? Everybody, young men, old men, what kinds of men?
So because the prostate enlarges as a man ages, it's usually is dependent on age. So the older the man, the more likely he is to come down with prostate enlargement or prostate cancer, as the case may be.
Is it saying that no young people can get it?
No, I'm going there. So initially, it used to be a lot of the diseases we are dealing with now used to be diseases of the old, but now we are having people who are they have not even gotten to 40, or they are in their early 40s, coming down with a lot of these conditions. For example, prostate cancer. And I'll take it back to lifestyle. A lot of alcohol consumption, a lot of smoking, a lot of unhealthy lifestyle. Let me mention this, that for people who consume suya a lot.
Are you serious?
Is a problem. Because heavy consumption of red meat. I know I'm shaking tables.
No.
I know I'm shaking that
This
table.
table.
So I need to say it.
Wow.
Consumption of red meat. And I'm using suya because that's what is very, very. There are some people that every day they consume a lot of it. So heavy consumption of red meat, smoking, alcohol are hugely implicated in prostate cancer. And we have a lot of young people doing that these days. Also, another thing that can predispose when you talk about the ages is if in the family there's been a previous history of someone having prostate cancer, then the chances are even more. So it's usually advisable that in that situation, once a man gets to 40, the perfect gift he will give himself is to go have a prostate screening done, so that the levels of his prostate, the PSA, can be checked, and then we know if he's fine or if he's not fine. But usually from 40 and above, there is an increased risk of prostate cancer. Then you now look at factors like, has it happened in the family before? Is he living healthy? Is he taking what he should not be taking, or taking what he should be taking, and the likes? Then all those things can now influence the likelihood or the increased risk of the man coming down with prostate
Okay,
cancer.
so what factors does or do the environment play in this issue? For example, here in Nigeria, I mean, you literally shook a table that everybody is on top. We live on red meat. I don't
Yes,
think
we do.
if there are any vegetarians or people who don't eat meat in Nigeria, they are probably a minority. We literally live on red meat,
By
and
red
that's
meat, I'm
just
talking
one of
about
them.
cow meat. Goat meat
I mean,
is
come on,
good.
everybody they chop cow meat now. That's what people eat in this country.
True,
So,
true.
what influence does the environment actually have on this disease? Do you think that's why Nigeria is high up there with the numbers?
Yes, definitely. The environment has a huge role to play, and by environment we mean the food, the diet. We are very very limited when you talk about the things we can eat, and not just limited, the things that we can afford
Mhm.
to buy. For the average Nigerian that might not have the money to go out there and get the exotic things, you have little or nothing. Red meat
It's always the cheapest
is
option.
one of the cheapest options you can get, and also stress in this country is a big deal. So a lot of people seek ways of taking away the stress, and that is where the smoking and
The
alcohol comes in. Stress. If when one is stressed, they most likely not eat well. So imagine you working in 9 to 5, and that working 9 to 5 is that you leave your house maybe 4, 5 a.m. in the morning
just to get to the office.
just to get to the office before 9 or before 8, and you get back
like
home
10
10,
because
11.
of traffic.
So what are you going to eat? You're either going to be eating late at night or you're going to be eating a lot of junks, and then you're coming back, you're buying this, you're buying that just to feed on, so that when you get in, you can just sleep and get ready. So stress also has a very huge role to play, because it would also affect the kind of things that food choices, as the case may be. And then with stress, there's an increased likelihood of people falling ill. And with people falling ill, there's increased likelihood of them seeking the poor health seeking behaviors, doing some things that they should not be doing, taking things that they should not take. And all these things come together, and with time, some of these conditions can just come up.
Wow, a lot of things can go wrong just by being in the wrong environment, basically. Wow. All right, thank you, Doc. It's been an enlightening discussion, but we're not done yet. We're going to go over to Nonso to teach us more about our saint of the week. When we come back, we'll be wrapping up the show with the last segment. Stay with us.
Hey everyone! Today we take a look at the life of St. Matthew the Apostle, one of the four writers of the Gospels. There is little known about his life because he was one of the quieter disciples, but his account of Jesus' life in his Gospel was very accurate, which showed that his quietness was not for show. He was actually a very attentive person. As you all know, he joined Jesus and left behind his job as a tax collector, but gave his time and talent to the ministry by serving as their official treasurer or syndic. That attentiveness helped him pay attention to the many acts of Jesus, which he then recorded for future generations, and his accounts were deemed basic enough to be the perfect introduction to who Jesus was, thereby placing it as the first of the four Gospels. The reasons for his writing down his account was to evangelize to people who were expecting Jesus or another Messiah to come back with armies and defeat the tyranny that rules over the land. He was a very private man still, because even at that time, little was known about how he moved. Only that he was an apostle, and an important one at that. Pray to St. Matthew today to live a quiet life dedicated to the service of Christ and to give your best in your profession. Thank you so much, Chima. Over to you.
Welcome back to the show. We've been discussing prostate cancer with Dr. George Uchendu, and it has been quite an eye-opener. I mean, I've learned a lot about this disease in this short time of discussion. In fact, we're going to be talking about the prevention before the treatment, because I don't think any one of us wants to treat prostate cancer
definitely.
in our lives.
Mm-hmm.
So, Doc, let's start from that. Before we talk about this, is this one of these cancers that, returns, that can be recurring in a person even after it is treated or dealt with?
In a way, if you attend to it, you treat it, it should be gone, as long as you do not do the things that will bring it back.
So basically, if you still keep on those lifestyle habits,
yes,
will come back.
It can come back. It can.
Interesting.
Definitely.
All right. So how do we now go on to prevent it aside the lifestyle? Is it just, are you assuring us, or are you saying that a total change in lifestyle can prevent any man from having prostate cancer?
It can drastically reduce the chances. So if you,
That's a big disclaimer.
it can
Which means that
drastically,
there is something that can still
because there are
happen.
some things that we don't have power over. Race, for example, where we are from, our age, we don't have power over it. So family history, we don't have power over it. But there are things that we have power over. One of it, which is our lifestyle. I also forgot to mention obesity is a big issue. A lack of physical activity, and with increase in weight can also predispose one to having prostate cancer. So our lifestyle, the things we take in, for those who are smoking, you need to stop. Alcohol needs to be drastically reduced or even cut out. I would like to say cut out. And then the food, usually I would advise more of white meat. So fish, chicken, turkey, goat meat are things that are much more advisable. Then a lot of people consume a lot of fatty foods. So you need to cut down on fatty foods and do a lot of fruits and vegetables. It has been shown, for example, tomatoes has been shown to contain ingredients that would drastically help reduce the prostate, make sure that it doesn't enlarge as it should be. So doing lots of fruits and vegetables will also be very, very helpful. Physical activity also is very, very important in making sure that one reduces the chances of having prostate cancer. And also, it will be the fact of screening. So while we are trying to do all these other things, keep checking, because a lot of these things, they do not show us symptoms immediately, but they take years where they begin to grow and grow and grow to the point where they begin to show symptoms. So check, once a year won't be bad to check your prostate, to do a screening to be sure that the levels are still fine and you are good to go.
You said something about tomatoes, and I just realized that I think our parents were visionaries. We
Yeah.
grew up eating Sunday rice and
Yes.
stew every Sunday you get, and there were a lot of tomatoes in our stew. So our parents were doing good on that angle. All right, so let's talk about herbal treatments. We're Africans.
Yeah.
Herbs is a big part of our culture.
Yeah.
There's agbo for everything, as you know.
Yes, true.
I'm sure in your practice you would have tried to dissuade people from taking agbo for a lot of things which they could have just come to the hospital for. Yeah. So are there any medically recommended herbal treatments or preventive measures for prostate cancer?
None that I know of. So far, what we are aware of are the medical interventions that can be done. We don't know of any herbal medicine interventions. And a lot of people think that doctors have issues with, or we are against herbal medicine.
It always seems like that because there's a very mess to it.
No, that it's because of, with science, there is research, and there are things that are products of the research, facts that are put out. So with herbal medications, because a lot of people also say that, these orthodox drugs that we're taking came from herbs. Yes, they did. But then the difference between a paracetamol, for example, and the herbal concoction that they will say will take care of headache is that the paracetamol has been measured both in concentration and quantity. So they tell you that for your age and for your level, you're supposed to take maybe 2 tablets in the morning, afternoon, and night. That has been calculated to say that if you take it like this is the effect it will have on you. It will take away the headache and the likes. And if you take it more than this, these are the things that can happen. But with herbal concoctions, there is no dosage. They will just tell you take 1 cup. Now, 1 cup is not dosage, because 1 cup can contain a mixture of things that might constitute 2 packets of paracetamol. So you might think you're taking 1 cup, but what is inside?
Taking like 1 whole sachet of paracetamol.
Exactly, at once. So these are the issues that we have. A lot of people that come down with kidney issues in the hospital. The top 3 things. One of the things is herbal concoction use. So there's a lot of issues that come out of it. If you check the pros and cons, the cons outweigh the pros. And then a lot of people that want to defend you, our parents took it when they were older, when they were younger, when they were in the village and the likes. A lot of things have changed. And our parents then, we cannot look at that in isolation. Our parents were much more healthy. They were eating healthier, straight from the farm.
There was less stress.
We were less stressed, yes. So there was a lot of physical activity so you cannot isolate that. These days, we consume a lot of can this, bottle this, package, fast food. So a lot of our lifestyle these days is more processed, and processed is not really good. So that's the thing with herbal concoction, herbal mixes. We don't know of any that helps. The go-to would always be get to the hospital. Medical interventions like radiotherapy. Radiotherapy comes up when this condition has gotten far. That is where the X-rays will come in, and then they have to use the X-rays and these rays to fight the tumor. Chemotherapy would be using of drugs. That also comes in when this condition has gone far. Where they use drugs to fight these tumors. But then other interventions or other treatments majorly come in when it has
Gone far.
It has gone far. So treatments like reducing testosterone levels. Remember I said that testosterone is responsible for the prostate enlarging. So there are drugs that when they are taken, it reduces the testosterone levels. And what happens when testosterone levels reduce? The fuel which is powering the prostate, once the fuel is taken out, the prostate begins to reduce and shrink. Yeah. So these are some of the conditions or some of the interventions or treatments that can help
for prostate
cancer when it has progressed to that point.
All right, Doc. Thank you so much. Unfortunately, that's all the time we have. And I hope this small session has been able to, educate a lot of people out there about the dangers of prostate cancer. Please, men, take care of your health. Take care of your prostate. Do not take anything for granted. Make sure that you do not let your environment negatively influence you into doing things that will be dangerous for your health. Thank you once again, Dr. George.
Always great to be
grateful to have you here to speak about this topic, and hopefully, if we call again, you'll be available for us.
Always. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. All right, now we'll go to the Know Your Faith team for this week's episode of the show. Stay with us.
Why do Catholics have two creeds? Hello there, my name is Judith, and I welcome you to another episode of Know Your Faith. Today we want to answer the question, why do we have two creeds in the church? The importance of this question concerns the origins of these creeds. This means that we have two creeds simply because of history. Let me explain. First, the word creed, from the Latin credo, meaning I believe. The purpose of any form of the creed is to provide a basic summary statement of the faith. The creeds are structured on the fundamental belief in the Trinity. The Apostles' Creed is attributed to the teaching of the apostles. An ancient tradition holds that on the day of Pentecost, the apostles composed this creed under the guidance of the Holy Spirit. The Apostles' Creed is said by Catholics, Anglicans, Lutherans, and Methodists. The Nicene Creed, on the other hand, was produced by the First Council of Nicaea in 325, which was convoked to combat the heresy of Arius, who basically denied the divinity of Christ. Later, at the Council of Constantinople in 381, the Church again not only affirmed its condemnation of Arianism, but also condemned the pneumatomachs, that is, the killers of the Spirit. Therefore, the creed was expanded to clearly define the divinity of the Holy Spirit. This creed, officially entitled the Nicene Constantinopolitan Creed, was introduced into the Mass about the year 500. So the story of the difference in the creeds is a story of history. While the Apostles' Creed has its origin from the 12 apostles, the Nicene Creed is an expansion of the Apostles' Creed to combat the heresies later in the Church's history. That's our show for today. I am sure you learned a thing or two. Which of these creeds do you prefer? Let us know in the comment section. And until next time, be bold, be Catholic.
Thank you so much to the Know Your Faith team. We're glad to have had that piece of information from you. I hope you at home have also learned something from what we were given by the Know Your Faith team. Once again, we just finished discussing prostate cancer with Dr. George Uchendu. And if you missed the show, well, you missed quite a lot. But don't worry, you can always catch up on it on our YouTube channel, Dominican Media Presents, where you can catch up also on past episodes of the show. If you would like to give us a shout out, please reach out to us on our social media at CFF on TV. If you want to support what we do here, you can call the numbers showing on your screen or send an email to the email address showing on your screen. Our website is also up there for you to check out all the things that we do. Thank you once again for staying with us. Thank you, Dr. George. And until we come your way with another beautiful episode of Catholic Faith Forum, Keep being saints in jeans and shirts.